Yeah, we just finished an amazing interview with Scott Ferrell. So Scott is Regional Fixed Ops Director for Region 2. He has been with the Hudson Group since 2010, I think.
Yeah.
And he's done all the roles, right? Advisor, service manager, sold cars, sales manager. He actually really is one of the people that helped create our Path to Service Excellence for advisors. And he is just fun.
The guy's so genuine. I remember the first time I heard him teaching a class. And here's the thing. When people say things like, oh, he's so genuine or he's so passionate, sometimes that's like an aside for like, yeah, but they're just okay. Like, Scott's actually amazing, and he's the most genuine, passionate individual you'll ever meet. But it's matched with competence, like business competence and care for the person that he's teaching. The first time I sat with him giving instruction to students, you could tell he just cared about them so much, and he takes it personally. He takes it personally that they leave as better men and women who are successful in this business. And how do you not like someone like that?
How? One of the kindest people I know.
Yeah.
Y'all check out the interview with Scott. So before we get into like any of this serious stuff, we've created this new segment on our podcast called "What is your unpopular opinion?"
Oh, well, it's give me a sec. Okay, I'll tell you exactly what that is. Unpopular opinion to me is it's okay to drive in the left lane.
Even
I hate that.
Oh, dude, he understood the assignment.
Wait.
This is what this segment is for.
Wait, hold on. I want to make sure I understand. Okay, so you're allowed to drive in the left lane even if you're going below the speed limit?
In Tennessee, for example, and I don't know about the rest of the free world, but in East Tennessee, the law clearly says that the left lane is for a passing lane. It's not okay to drive in the left lane. But yet, I can travel this great world over, and when I get on the road from Johnson City to Bristol, you can bet you we're going to be too wide, about 4 miles an hour below the speed limit coming home.
So your unpopular opinion is get out of the fast lane.
Yes, that left lane is for us movers and shakers.
That's
we
right.
got to go.
That's right.
We got to go.
Unless you are going at least 10 miles, at least
over.
10 miles over.
Right.
You can't be
It's
in
a
that
passing
lane.
lane.
It's a
Yeah,
passing
It's
lane.
a passing lane.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No,
It's
what
a
do
passing
you
lane.
guys drive like a measly 2 or 3? I think somebody said they drive like 4 miles over, and I'm like 4.
No, that's
Rookie.
you might as well not even be driving if you do that.
You ain't going nowhere.
How long did it take you to get down here today?
Well, we do have Hudson safe driving standards, and so I adhere to those.
Follow adhered.
But yeah, no, we. But yeah, that's a very unpopular opinion for me. And Russ gets tickled at me because he and I travel a whole lot together, and Daniel and I did before that. And it's I like to drive, and so they like to catch up on their.
Drive.
I thoroughly enjoy driving.
They like to catch up on their work, and of course we converse too while we're going. So there's a lot of times they're continuing to work with their computers out, and I'm toting them on down the highway, and
Smashing the skinny pedal.
I've always enjoyed that. Yeah.
How fast do you go though? Like I'm with you. I'm like at least 10 over the limit if I'm in the left lane.
If I'm in my personal car and I'm on the interstate, I'm going to run 80 to 85.
Yes.
Yeah, regardless of what the speed limit is.
Yeah.
Is it 60? Okay, I'm going 80. Is it
I'm probably,
is it 55? Okay, I'm also going 80.
I try to think 19 miles an hour over the speed limit's probably the window you want to stay under.
Yeah, probably.
Because I think
for
at
sure.
20 there's a whole different legal ramification involved.
Yeah. I went through a 5-year period where I got a ticket every Christmas Eve for 5 straight years.
Yeah. Well, let me rephrase. I've had 2 tickets, but one of them got dismissed. So they let that go.
Cool.
Yeah, they let that go.
See,
5 Christmas Eves in a row.
yeah, lots of traveling. Molly's in the passenger seat, And so I think I'm already a little bit defensive and just, she likes to offer a lot of guidance in the car.
You're saying that
And
she
I feel like that's where
Navigator.
that is
Gotcha.
where most couple arguments originate.
Yeah.
I won't drive because my husband always has something to say, and I'm like, all right, drive it. I don't care. I don't want to drive anyway.
I'll never get lost because
Like you
Jen's always
might.
like, stop here, you're going too fast, pull over, let this guy go. You got to turn here. Do you realize we got a turn coming up? So she's always really helpful to me like that. I unfortunately, I don't have her when we're out on the road working, so, Russ gets me by.
Can I just tell you that,
Yeah.
I'm not that wife. I'm sleeping.
That's
or
cool.
reading or looking at my phone or doing something. I'm enjoying and appreciating the fact that I'm not driving. So however fast you go, as long as I don't die, I don't care.
But Molly, she'll go like, there's a sale at Penny's, like that. There's sweet corn for sale. It's like, stop it.
Peach stand, pull over any peaches.
Exactly. It's like, that's only reserved for there's a guy in a wheelchair in the lane, or you know what I mean? You can't just throw it out if she does. Sweat.
I get it. Yeah. Or they'll wake up and go, how'd we get here so fast? Wow, you did good. I didn't even know we were in the car.
Yes, exactly. That's me exactly. Drive me.
That's right.
Get me there.
That's how it should be, right? Get there. Left lane drivers.
Left lane drivers.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, let's talk about work stuff.
Sure. I love it.
Scott, you have been with the company since.
Well, so Mr. Hudson bought our store. Daniel and I were working in
Bristol.
And he bought that store. I want to say it was June or July of 2010. So, I'd worked with Daniel for quite a while. Since around, actually, I guess we first started working together in 2002.
Okay.
And we went a little different path briefly. When my son was really, really little, year old, his daughter Anna and my son Grant were born 3 weeks apart.
Oh, okay.
So Vicky and Jen, were
nice.
which was really, really neat. So we got to experience that together. And so I went to work as a service advisor in a Honda dealership. No responsibility, so I could go home and be a dad and having a ball.
But you weren't always a service advisor, though, because you were just saying you used to sell cars.
So my path was kind
But you
of
started as a detailer.
started cleaning cars. Went into parts, went into the military, came home as a service advisor, went into service management. It was funny. My first service it's funny now. It wasn't funny at the time, but my first service management gig, I bombed terribly because bombed terribly.
That's where the most learning comes in, right?
I want to hear about
through
that.
the failure.
Well, so I had so I worked for a car dealer that was a young guy. He had married the dealer's daughter. He was an attorney, and me and him really clicked. Really good guy. The dealer had a parts and service director that had been with him for 40 years and was not going to retire or change or anything. And so listen, I'm not saying that I didn't need boundaries and guidance and to learn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's almost like I was non-existent, and of course, when you're young, and then ego gets in the way, and then you don't always know how to handle things, so you should lean on that experience of that fella, which I did as much as I could.
Sure.
But there was a couple little real fundamental differences. There was. I won't get into any of the details of it, but there's things that I wasn't gonna do. And they had a warranty problem when I first got there. So anyway, long story short. But I say I bombed miserably because I didn't take that to the level that I had hoped I would be able to take it with. But when they assume you're really good in the business and you're really good with people and you're really good at this, at that particular point in time, there was no training for me. There was really nothing out there. And so I went back to work for another gentleman in a Chevrolet dealership as an assistant service manager, and he was a really good service manager. Taught me a lot of really good stuff. And so a GM convinced me to take a step and go into selling cars, said I'd be a natural. He said, what do you want to do with your life? I said, I want to be a GM. And he said, this is how you get there. You already got fixed. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So I went into selling cars.
Cool.
Do you still want to be a GM?
It's so funny you'd say that, because there are days that I really do, because it was always my goal.
Yeah.
And then there's days that, and I don't want this to sound weird, I almost feel like God's called me to do this.
That's not weird.
I almost feel like, if it's His plan for me to do that, then sure, I would love to. And but I know that I would only be successful if He did, if He let me do that, led me to do that. So I haven't felt the calling that I needed to go ahead and do that, though at one time I felt that was really, really strong. So, so I was in sales, and sales turned into finance. Finance turned into, funny story. So I was doing finance, a little old place. I was riding an hour and a half to work each day with another guy that was in really great guy. I was riding him with work every day. Well, we went to the Repo Joe sale down in Texas, and the second Gulf War started.
Sure.
On the day that we were supposed to have one of those big sales. And so you can imagine how much traffic we had, which was a grand total of 0 customers came on a lot that day. And I said, well, it's going to cost me more money staying at a hotel than it will be just go ahead and drive my butt on back home. So I went on back home, and I was working at this dealer. Well, I had left a cell phone charger in my buddy's car and some other things. And I called him, and he said, yeah, I got it. Come get it. And I was off that day. And funny how the Lord works. So I drove to Greenville, Tennessee, after cleaning the car up. Shorts, T-shirt. I mean, I don't look presentable at all. And as soon as I walked in the door, my old sales manager, my old general sales manager are working there, and they go, hey, glad you showed up. Thanks for coming. We need you to meet the GM. We got our sales manager didn't come in today. Yeah. And so I'm like, I can't look at anybody. And sure enough, the manager, the general manager they wanted me to meet and talk to was Daniel Johnson.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
We were both very, very young men, and it took just a few minutes into the conversation for me to realize what an incredibly talented and wonderful human being he was.
Cool.
And I didn't always have the benefit. I kind of moved around a little bit.
Yeah.
And but it was always to like move up.
Yeah.
And so when I figured that out, I wanted to be a part of what he was doing and a part of that, and I'm super thankful that I did. And man, it's been life changing for me. And then the second epic turn in my career, great, was the day Mr. Hudson bought our store.
Yeah.
And so and to meet him and to see how genuine and how down to earth that he is. I think we were his 4th acquisition, if I remember that right.
What I love about some of the stuff that you do, Scott, is that you put together this Path to Service Excellence training originally for Region 3, and before you go into anything service related, the very first thing you do is talk about what our core values are and who David Hudson is and who we are as a company. And I love that because it just shows kind of like where, why you're still here, right? What's important to you, what's important to our company, and like what it is we stand for, because that is above anything else that we would ask anybody to do, is to know who we are and what it is we stand for and what your leaders stand for, right? I truly do. I really am very passionate about that. I want every person that comes to work for Hudson Automotive Group. I'm not just saying it because we're on a podcast for our company, but I just want everybody to know the company intimately, like I feel like I do. Like you do, right?
I want them to know that we're a place that cares. We're a place of value. You know, I say it all the time when somebody fills out a resume and they turn that resume in and then they get an interview. Well, there's a hope there. You know, there's somebody that's reaching out for a better opportunity or a better life, and they're excited, and they go home, and everybody's a hero to somebody in their home or somebody outside their home. But everybody leaves their home a hero to somebody.
That's right.
And so
that's right.
I take it very, very personal if they come to us and they don't find that, or they don't find that success, or they don't find that they don't find that if they don't feel like they connect.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I just wish the whole world could feel the same way about the company that I do, about Mr. Hudson, about David, about TC, about Daniel,
and it's
Russ.
all because of personal experiences that you've had with these people, that you know that these aren't just words on paper. It is what they believe. Your experience with these people, with the company, with that. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question for y'all.
Yeah.
So everyone around this table has like a leadership role. I'm curious, something that you've learned. So you mentioned in your story that you worked for this fixed ops director that, really kind of, you had a little bit of...
Was the anti what I just mentioned.
Right.
Yeah, not the greatest experience with. And so I'm curious, what have you learned from a boss that... something negative that you take that and say, I didn't like the way I felt when this happened to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to make sure that when I'm leading people, I don't do this thing. Like, is there anything in particular you can kind of take?
Absolutely. I've worked for some good folks. I've worked for some absolute rogues for very short periods of time. I've worked for some folks that absolutely taught me how not to talk to people.
And do you think about that, like when you're leading or when you're talking to somebody?
Absolutely.
Does it sometimes come into you and you're like, I don't ever want to make somebody feel like I felt back then, so I'm going to not do this or say this or have this kind of...
I think anybody that works with me by now knows that there are moments when I can be a direct communicator, and maybe opinionated sometimes at certain moments.
What?
Yeah, I knew you would appreciate that. My sister, I love Faith. I always have. But no, seriously, I think, but I'm very cognizant of that if I catch myself, I think there's nobody that I work with that would not come to you and tell you that Scott's the first guy that'll go, did I come off too strong with you on that? Or did, I just want the clarity of, it's like coaching kids. I think that's what I think I really love so much about what I get to do is I'm passionate about the company. I love it so much because obviously the people, again, I've mentioned Daniel and Russ and David and TC and so many folks, and there's such great examples of leadership from them, and they emulate a full 180 of they're just 180 degrees away from people that I've worked for in the past that were not that. I saw a salesman one time that had 2 kids that I thought was a really good salesman and a great guy get fired because he went to wait on a customer and left his Mountain Dew can sit on the light pole.
Oof.
And I worked for a guy that I came into work one day and I won't say what brand, but I came in one day and all the windows, the doors were open on the vans. And I know he's going to snap and lose his mind if he comes in and he sees that. So I stop my car and get out and start shutting doors as fast as I can go. And he pages across the intercom to me to open every door you just closed unless you want to pay $250 per vehicle like they are.
You're a kid.
Over the intercom before we open. And so I'm so thankful that's never been my experience with Daniel or Hudson Automotive Group.
What about you, Caleb?
Yeah, I remember, so this is like years ago, but I worked for a startup in Louisville, and it was one of those situations where I was CC'd on an email, and something didn't get done. And I remember my boss at the time replied all to everyone, and it was, something to the effect of, let's get this done. It's really not that hard, comma, if you think about it, period. And like she sent it, I kind of felt like I was being talked to like a golden retriever, but it was in front of everybody.
Yeah. So it was to you, but everybody got it.
Yes, and everyone was CC'd on it.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so it was like.
And I can see it still bothers you deeply.
Absolutely, it really does, because one thing that I really try to do is, like, if there's some people that work under me, like, I want them to know that, I have their backs, and they're not gonna have to worry about me doing like something like that.
Yeah.
Like when you really have to watch your 6 so that you don't get like, something like it really does. It
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
it's and it can be very distinct. Like I was in my young 20s, you know, and I was like come in early, work late.
Yeah.
And then it's like it can be very destabilizing. And honestly, I will say it was probably a good lesson for me to like I mean, people are going to let you down. They just are.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to get around that.
Yeah.
But like, I never want somebody like that answers to me to wonder, like, you know, are they ever going to like use that opportunity to spike the football and like elevate themselves by putting me down? And like that stuff that really stayed with me forever. It's like I never want to be that.
Praise in public and correct in private.
And I think I can tell that about you as a leader. I think like just from you telling that story, I think I can see that in your leadership as to like how you're like, you know,
well, you know,
your goal is to like, you know, raise the profile.
Yeah,
of the people
I hope
you.
so. And like,
Yeah.
what about you? I mean, I want to hear your answer to that question.
So I don't know. I took this job back at a commercial dry cleaner, and this guy was not great. Like he was like sexist. I'm pretty sure he was a little racist. He and he would like he had this like agreement with the prison systems where they would like send people to work for him for like below minimum wage, like in the
like a Shawshank Redemption
situation.
situation.
Little
like,
sweatshop
it
action.
was great.
Yeah.
And so I ended up there. You know, the company I was working for was like going bankrupt, and so I had to find someplace else to work. So I was working there, and I was doing a lot. I had worked at this other company for I don't know 8 or 9 years, and so I'd learned a lot about it, and I knew nothing about dry cleaning. And so he came in and he expected like me to like work miracles and do all of these things, but like I didn't know the business, and he didn't like take the time to like help me learn the business. And so there were a lot of expectations there about things that like I just wasn't being taught. And so I then, you know, when I came to Hudson, what I love about having been able to work so closely with TC for so long is that like literally everything he asked me to do, he would say, here's this line on the financial statement. This is what happens to create this. These are, you know, like he would explain everything to
why.
me. And so the why behind it all. And so I feel like I have, you know, that's where a lot of my knowledge from this industry comes from, is just like us working closely together and like building things together and him explaining things. And so I know
and what a great teacher and mentor that is.
What a great
TC
teacher.
is awesome.
So I know that I still have a long ways to go on this, but I always do think back to like those two different, like separate experiences and think to myself, like, I can't expect something from somebody. And sometimes I do. I find myself being like, I expect this, and then I have to pull myself back and say, you know, that's not fair of me. Like I haven't gone through this. You don't understand. So I can't take for granted that you should know something that you don't know.
Yeah.
And so it's a work in progress, but those two experiences definitely shape kind of how I look and try to.
That's a really good example too. It's a weird feeling when you feel like, and we've been in this industry for a while, like, God, I mean, everyone here, decades. But like to think back to a time when you don't even know what you don't know, you know what I mean? And like how to like contribute intelligently in that. And really you're kind of at their mercy a little bit.
And I think it's why like I'm really excited to do like what I'm doing now, because and you know, like what you're doing with the Path to Service Excellence, because so often this industry is very incestuous, meaning like a lot of people that we hire in have done this job before somewhere else, right? They'll just move from here to there. Oh, I know this person. They moved over there, so I'm going to move over there. And so there's so often like we bring them in with just expectations that they know, and here's what they don't know. They don't know who we are. They don't know what we stand for as a company. They don't know, you know, like what our expectations are. And so they're coming in and we're not having clarity around that. We're not talking to them. We're not telling them that. And then we're getting angry or upset or disappointed when they don't meet the expectations, when their numbers aren't how they should be, or they haven't followed this process the way that we think they should, or they're not getting to where they need to because nobody actually taught them the process. We just expected that they would already know the process. And so what I get the chance to do, and what we're doing with the Path to Service Excellence and a lot of other things, are like taking it back to the very beginning and saying, hey, you joined us as a group. We're so glad to have you. And here we want to let you know what the expectations are for this role, and actually how to reach and meet those expectations.
That's
and
cool.
So I do, I never thought about it like that, but I guess that kind of like goes back around to like being in a place, just being like, I don't know how to meet your expectations, because I just like there hasn't been any clarity around that.
It happens.
It happens here all the time. It happens everywhere. It happens here, and what we're trying to do is trying to like limit the number of times that happens here, or reduce the number of times that
and
happens.
to your point, when we do that, what do? We give somebody the chance to go home and be the hero.
Be the hero. That is so important to me. Because no matter what kind of day you've had, when you go in the door and that little one comes running and jumps on you, or your wife's excited to hear about your day, or you know, or maybe it's just your dog can't wait to see you, right? You know, somebody, you're a hero to somebody.
So you're supposed to put the cream in the
No,
cup?
you just do in my world.
Well, I'm just naturally like this.
Well, it sounds gross when you say it like that.
You can leave my potato salad in the ground where it started, because I'm not going to eat potato salad. But I thought, once in a lifetime experience.
Do it.
Drive around Daytona. Let's go.
Do it. Easiest decision of my life.
Yeah.
Let's freaking go.
Yeah.